Hello, my friends, and welcome to Simon's Pro Wrestling Show. Hopefully everything is working like it should do. You know the deal. Also, shout out to everyone who is live on YouTube right now. You know how much I love you. I love you more than my mother. It's not true. Thankfully, my mother won't be watching this. She would probably be offended. And, of course, hello to everybody listening on the podcast. You can choose your poison, essentially. And shout out to everyone that did listen on the podcast and wasn't... here for the the blackout that happened on Tuesday. Apparently that was very, very odd to just hear. You know, when you don't have visuals, but hey ho, that's just the world we live in right now. I hope everyone has had a delicious week. That's right, I said delicious week because I'm a very strange person. And of course, a big shout out to patrons, patreon.com/Simon316. Without you, this podcast wouldn't exist. And I keep meaning to write you all down and give you a shout out, and I forget, but I will sort this, as I always say, to give you an update, even if you don't care. We are going to have a brand new studio soon. I'm building it over there in the corner. It's going to be all cool. It's basically going to look like the Pat McAfee show. Let's not pretend otherwise, because when you see it, you go, man, that guy looks like the Pat McAfee show. This is the whole point. I've also learned, don't do cardio before you do the podcast. Look at my weight. Looks like I've been doing other stuff, which I've never done. No one ever, who even cares? What are we even talking about? Of course, if you do want to get involved, you can do it. You can like the video. You can share the video. You can write a comment. You can put something in the chat. And anyone that does a super chat, and obviously that means you are supporting the podcast with money, I will read out whatever you write, be it a question, a statement, or you can tell me you hate me. That's totally cool. If you hate me, it's good that we get it out there and we can talk about it. So, look at what we're talking about today. I didn't intend to talk about this. I don't choose the topics, but everyone's talking about it. So if everyone's talking about it, I'm going to join in. Is CM Punk returning to AEW? Now, this is based on two things, in case you are not aware. The first is a Dave Meltzer quote on the Wrestling Observer. Three things, actually. The one and two kind of tied together. Basically, on today's Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer straight out said it. Well, it sounds like CM Punk would like to come back to AEW. And this was based on the fact that CM Punk is reading Steve Kern's book at the moment. I would imagine that's a very good book. He played Skinner for a while in the WWF. That's how I was first introduced to him. And was a Doink the Clown maskee, whatever the word would be. So he's done much more than that. But, you know, that's what I remember when I was a kid. And in that book, it talked about some falling out that Steve Kern had had with Coco Beware, I think. And they got them in a room, and surprise, surprise, they all talked it out, and they went back to work. So this must be CM Punk going, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that's what I'd like to do. And also, this is a bit more conspiracy theory, but I liked it, and it ties into the thumbnail on today's show. At the start of Dynamite, which we'll talk about later, the Young Bucks got beaten up, and there was an AEW production truck, and there was a big old table or some pallets covering somebody's face. And as the internet likes to do, I believe it was on Reddit or somewhere, but then it took on a life of its own. Apparently, and we don't know for sure, but apparently the plate, the way we call it, the pallets were covering CM Punk's face. Now, we don't know this for sure. I couldn't see it. But I do agree with this idea that if that is true, AEW could have shot this anywhere they wanted. And if they did do it, maybe there's something to it, right? So that's where this has come from today, if you're wondering why we are talking about CM Punk. And at the moment, we just don't know, is the truth. Again, there's no smoke without fire, so once you do start to do your research, it does sound like he wants to come back to AEW. That I can believe. Now, whether or not he's had a conversation with Tony Khan or Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks or anybody else that was involved at the Brawl Out or Fallout, All Out, I should say, the Fallout, in the Brawl Out at All Out, we just don't know. But all of a sudden, it has started up again. All of a sudden, people are talking about it, with the big question being, should he come back, I suppose? And everyone is going to have different opinions. I bet if you write it in the chat right now, or you send me a tweet or Instagram at Simon316, everyone is going to come up with something different. And you will not be surprised to hear on my take. It won't surprise you at all if you watch any of my stuff. Don't forget, when we are down here, go and check out Dynamite Ups and Downs over on What Culture Wrestling and give them a subscribe too. But it all comes down to how everybody feels about this. I know, look, as a fan, looking at it purely from a entertainment perspective, do I want to see CM Punk return? Of course I do. I want to see CM Punk versus Omega. I want to see CM Punk and FTR versus The Elite. I want to see CM Punk versus Ricky Starks. I want to see CM Punk versus Wardlow. I want to see CM Punk versus MJF again. Hell, I'd take CM Punk versus Chris Jericho, especially all things considered. But if there are certain people that have, I remember the Young Bucks saying that, this is one of the hardest periods of their life. We don't know where Punk's own situation is at. And that's the key for me. Wrestling is meant to be fun, and it's meant to be fun for us in front of the curtain, and it's meant to be fun for the wrestlers behind the curtain. It's a ridiculous job. You roll around and you wrestle in your pants. Doesn't mean it's not hard. Doesn't mean it takes a certain amount of skill. But it is the most important of the least important things, as we know. When people pass away, all of a sudden this stuff that we're going, it doesn't matter anymore. But There is no point bringing anybody back to a company if there is going to be stress or sadness or depression, I guess, to a certain extent, because I'm sure they all went through things like that. It's just not worth it. It just isn't. So I think we all have to get together and we all have to make sure that everybody is okay with this, because a good, positive working environment is massively important. I bet you've been at places where you haven't felt that way and it's totally sucked. And I don't understand why it should be any different to professional wrestling. But again, from my own point of view, just looking at it purely from a fan's perspective, I mean, you don't have to like CM Punk. You don't have to like anybody. It's totally up to you, which ties into something else I want to talk about later. But I certainly would like to see him come back. I think it would give the AEW a boost. I think it opens the door for a load of cool feuds. He doesn't have to go back into the main event scene. He doesn't have to be the world champion. I actually think Tony Khan is best at booking these people when they're not like that, such as Sting on AEW last night, or the way they treat Jeff Jarrett. Now, Punk's a bit younger than that. Like, he's not... I still think he's a legend, but he's not a legend of that generation, if that makes sense. You don't have to be as, you don't have to be as, whatever the word would be, as those guys. But to me, the better your roster, the better your product. But you also need to have, everyone needs to be on the same page, right? And everyone needs to be sailing in the same direction, because otherwise we've seen what happens. And again, I don't know who was right. I don't know who was wrong. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. Of course, it's fascinating to read about because it's scandalous and it's controversial and it's sensational. It's a spectacle. And one of the reasons I think people get absolutely obsessed with wrestling is because of the backstage culture. But with that said, once we get past that, people, they need to feel warm and fuzzy in their tum-tums, as a great man once said. And that man was me, so they're not great at all. We shall get to some super chats. And again, anyone that gives me a super chat, anyone that's here right now, I massively appreciate you. But to put your hand in your pocket to support all my nonsense, I cannot thank you enough. So I love you deep down from my tootsie toes. Danny DeVito is here. Love you in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Probably my favorite thing you've ever done, which is saying a lot. You did Batman Returns, and you did Twins, and you did, there's no point running down Danny DeVito films. We'll be here all day. But he says, hi, Simon. Hi, Danny. If Punk does return, what's his first match back? It's a great question, Mr. DeVito. I mean, look, if, this time ties in too, right? If the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Punk are all back on the same page, he should just fit right back into this Elite storyline, right? I don't even mind if you want to reveal that it's Punk that beat up the Young Bucks and Don Callis and Punk are working together, and that separates Kenny Omega from Don Callis and Punk comes back as a heel. Works for me, would be fantastic. Opens up the door to something else completely. So maybe you can do that, or if they are happy to work together but not interact with each other, I suppose, or maybe the other way around. I mean, that's a great question. I don't know. It could be anybody. I mean, it literally could be anybody. How do you even get back in? I mean, does it have to be Hangman Adam Page? Would he want to do that? Who's the last person he faced? John Moxley. I mean, that's the real thing. And this is why I think it's so important for everyone to be on that same page. Because it opens a massive... we go down a very different pathway. And it's going to be intriguing. Shout out to Jed Brown as well in the super chat. Thank you very much, Jed. Who says, which cereal mascot? I like this already. It's weird. Would you love to see as a wrestling gimmick? And why is it Rice Krispies with their finisher? The smack. That's very different. Imagine Rice Krispies were doing that. The snap, crackle, and pop #trio titles. I mean, look, they would be good. They'd be a great trios. Who doesn't want to see Rice Krispies, snap, crackle, and pop taking on Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks or the House of Black? That'd be amazing. But I got to go with Tony the Tiger for Frosties or Frosted Flakes, whatever they're called in America. He's been around for a long time. He's got legacy. He's a bit of a legend. He's a tiger. So, he's going to have a massive upside there. So, Jed, I mean, it's a great shout, but I think Tony the Tiger would be my pick, and I would make him the world champion tomorrow. And that's actually who I would, feud CM Punk with. CM Punk versus Tony the Tiger. Can you imagine? That would just be the greatest wrestling promotion ever as far as I'm concerned. That's good old goofy wrestling. Shout out to the Hebrew Hammer in the super chat. Always a good guy. Good to see him, my man Double H. I don't like the Bucks. There we go. But I like Omega. Storyline between a returning Punk and Omega would draw huge numbers, but both sides have to be willing to do it. I think that's absolutely fair. That's what it's all about. I mean, it would do huge news because when that story broke, it was a massive success in terms of interest and clicks, and we did videos, and Fightful did videos, and Wrestling Observer did videos, and everybody else. There was, I guess because nobody could believe it, because that press conference was absolutely crazy. So I think, yes, look, if we can wave our magic booking wand, which is not a thing and sounds super dodgy, you want to do Kenny Omega versus Punk. Potentially it's Kenny Omega as the face and CM Punk as the heel. And maybe that is what we're doing. Maybe that's what all that Don Callis thing was last night was about. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out my rectum. There's lots of things going down. But I would imagine, usually given how wrestling works, we will soon know. Like, do you remember when Punk was first coming in? The teasers and the t-shirts and the commentary. It all came together quite quickly, and even though no one announced it, we soon figured it out. And who knows what will happen. Again, I was listening to the Wrestling Observer earlier, and Dave Meltzer had his, I don't know whether it was a devil's advocate point of view, but he was very much of the opinion, does AEW even need to? They're doing well. Warner Brothers Discovery doesn't want to cancel them. TV ratings are steady. They're about to get another show, which is the rumor. So it's not like the company's about to close its doors, so do you want to risk that kind of a situation? Again, there's many, many ways that we can respond to it, but ultimately it's always going to come down to bias, as all these things do. If you like CM Punk, you're going to want to see him back, and if you don't like CM Punk, you're not going to want to see him back. Which actually is a nice segue into what I want to talk about next, which is Goldberg. So we touched on this on Tuesday because it did come out that Goldberg is now a free agent, and over the last few days, apparently, again, Fightful Select had all these details. Shout out to Sean. That Goldberg is chatting to many different companies. None of the companies were named as far as I know, but I guess you could throw out New Japan. They like a good legend and they like a beast. AEW obviously would be in there. I could see the NWA making a play, maybe even Ring of Honor. I don't know. Doubt it because you want him on Dynamite. I still think he would bring eyes to the product. Now, once again, this is how I tie it in. If you don't like Goldberg, that's fine. Not a problem. Absolutely. I understand all that stuff with The Fiend wasn't the best idea in the world. I still don't totally understand what happened there, but once again, I don't know. So I shrug my shoulders and move on. But straight away, the rhetoric has gone from, well, I'd rather not see Goldberg in AEW. That's just a little bit too WWE for me, which is kind of ironic because he's still very much a WCW guy in my head, but it goes to show the generational game. To, Goldberg is bad. Goldberg will ruin AEW. Goldberg will drag everyone down. Screw Goldberg. I'm like, man, why do we always have to make it personal? There's no need to make it personal. There's not. Remember, he's a human being. And remember, he has thoughts. And remember, he has feelings. And remember, if he did see that, he'd probably be quite upset. Because no matter what you think of Goldberg, he still put in the time, he still put in the hours, and he still became a massive success. Now, look, I'm the biggest Bret Hart fan in the world. What happened between those two, I think, is terrible. But once again, if I could wave my magic wand, which I keep doing through this show, I would just like it if they could make up and move on. Because it gets me sad anytime Bret's sad about stuff. I don't want Bret to be sad. I want Bret to be the happiest man ever. So, and this is my other thing when it comes to Goldberg. I totally believe that if Goldberg did come in, that Tony Khan would make it work. And I'm basing this off what we've already been shown. For example, Sting came on. 64-year-old Sting. Got a massive reaction. Has always been treated like a legend. Was no selling everything. When the Butcher was laying in those punches, Sting was like, bro, man, I've been taking punches for 7 decades. That man, Sting is the greatest thing ever. Jeff Jarrett came in. I was like, I don't want to see Jeff Jarrett. Totally wrong. Absolutely brilliant. Great use of the man. Jake the Snake Roberts, great use of the man. Tully Blanchard, great use of the man. So I actually think if Goldberg came in, that Tony Khan would make it work. I don't think he'd be in the main event picture. I don't think he'd be winning AEW championships. I think they would put him with someone, maybe like Wardlow. They do enjoy teaming people up in AEW. And maybe we could get some cool tag matches out of it or something. Now that is Goldberg a tag team wrestler? No. But that's what they done with Jeff Jarrett. Sting was never a tag team wrestler unless you go way back in his career. And now he's like, the dad of Darby Allin. And last night he was teaming with Orange Cassidy. Imagine I had told you that before Sting debuted for AEW. He's going to be doing all the Orange Cassidy stuff. You wouldn't have believed me. This is Sting. Actually, I think we all know that Steve Borden's pretty much a good dude. But I trust Tony Khan to make it work. And don't pretend people wouldn't tune in. People still love Attitude Era stars. The only problem is we ran out of them. That's what happened. That's why Goldberg got brought back in 2016. Because they're like, do we have any more Attitude Era stars to bring back? No, we're out. Oh, do Goldberg. Just do Goldberg. Give him a call and we'll treat him properly this time. Which we didn't do in 2003. So once again, you do not have to want Goldberg in AEW. That's not what I'm saying. But let's not step across the precipice into then taking shots at the man, Bill Goldberg or William Goldberg. Is that his real name? I have absolutely no idea. I just think it's unnecessary. I just don't think we need to do it. And look, okay, let's say we bring him in and it's the worst thing ever. All right, we'll move on. Tony Khan ain't stupid. And he's been doing this for a little while now. I mean, literally in terms of wrestling booking. But I trust the man. And if you look, I like Goldberg. I just do. It hits my nostalgia gland. It gets me excited. I think when he is booked properly, he's a lot of fun. People understand it. And if he wants to have one more match at Double or Nothing or whatever it may be, or you want to put it on television, I don't necessarily think he should win. But then again, I go back. It's kind of weird because we use Sting and Jeff Jarrett as the ultimate examples of this. Jeff Jarrett never wins, whereas Sting never loses. And I like both of these portrayals. So that's why I get the confidence. And of course it would get me interested. Of course it would. Of course it would. If I go back to my computer now and it says, oh, Goldberg debut in AEW, I'm going to be excited. I'm going to want to watch it. I mean, I would watch it anyway because I'm a massive super nerd and a geek. But I would have a certain amount of excitement for that. And I'm not going to lie. Let's say he did come in. He spears MJF and he wins the championship. Yeah, I'd like that too. And you want to know why? Because internet would melt down. I tell this story all the time. I'll tell it again right now. My show, I do whatever I want. If I want to repeat myself, no one can stop me. Mama, you here? No, she's not here. She ain't going to tell me off. The only person that's going to tell me off. When I was watching whatever Saudi Arabia show that was, and Shane McMahon won the Best in the World tournament, I was dying because this is the most WWE thing ever. And then the tweets and the reaction on Twitter, oh my gosh, it slayed me. I genuinely had tears in my eyes. I hurt from laughing so much. And in that moment, I was like, we need to do more shenanigans in wrestling. We need to do more stupid stuff. Because I'm so happy and I was so entertained. And I was like, you know what? Sometimes, as stupid as it was, and we should never have done it, the fact the community came together in that way to make a bunch of jokes about it, I was like, I love wrestling. And if that's the way it makes me feel, let's do some crazy stuff every now and then. You can always fix it. Shame it, man. Ain't in WWE even more. No one even mentions his name. Shout out to Abby Does Life in the super chat. Thank you so much, Abby. Massively appreciate it. Hey, Simon, not a question, but wanted to say hi. Hello. I found your channel last year during my rough times, and you helped me through it. Much love, my friend. Man, this happened on Tuesday, with people sending lovely messages. I don't want to go over it too much because I get that some people are like, Simon, we don't care. I understand that, but I really do care. So, Abs, that's the nicest thing anyone could ever say. Thank you so much. Again, you do all the work. You are able to pick yourself up when you do go through hard times. And if I'm able to assist you on that journey or help, or my content provides a distraction or some entertainment, that's truly my pleasure. And I take that as a really cool plus of the job that maybe at some point I never actually thought would be a thing. So, massive salute and thumbs up to you. You take care of yourself. My man Spaz Phoenix, make sure you check out his podcast. Always supporting the super chat, says, with Bray Wyatt out, it sounds like he is out, and it sounds like he has an illness. So once again, let's wait and see before we start doing the speculating finger. WWE should use Bobby Lashley to showcase another powerhouse, so I suggest Lashley versus Ridge Holland. We love you, Simon. I love you too, Mr. Phoenix. I do like that idea. I think we'd have to really, really heat Ridge Holland up this week on SmackDown, and I don't think we're going to be able to do that. That's the only problem. WrestleMania matches, I want to feel like a big deal. Brian Cage did a tweet saying, well, I'll be in WrestleMania weekend. I'll fight Bobby Lashley. Can you imagine? It could actually happen, you know. There are lots of rumors out there that Brian Cage's contract expires soon, and the AEW deals don't have 90-day release thing. You know what I mean? The wait out clause. So if I was Brian Cage, I'd actually try to make that happen. He would double as a star overnight, because the WrestleMania fans will know who he is. There's a huge hardcore contingent there. And he'd probably lose to Bobby Lashley, but I don't think it would matter. Maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he would win. Maybe we do something nuts. I don't know what Bobby Lashley's going to do at WrestleMania. That's a great question. I'm thinking about it now. I mean, I'm not massively fussed about this Bray Wyatt match, but whatever. There'll be loads of matches on the card. I can happen a couple that don't necessarily speak to me, but the show isn't written for me, and I totally understand that. But no, I don't know. I honestly don't know what we do. I don't know if he wins, if he loses, if Bray Wyatt's going to be back in time. If Big E could go, I'd take Big E versus Bobby Lashley, but Big E absolutely has to win. But this is me completely speculating. I don't know. I mean, the other rumors now is about Randy Orton coming back. And then LA Knight apparently is going to have some kind of, face-to-face with Steve Austin. That was reported the other day. But then if Randy Orton's coming back and you can't get Stone Cold, maybe it's Randy Orton that distracts LA Knight. This is what I would do, genuinely. If Roman Reigns is going to retain that damn WWE Unified Championship, which we've said constantly on this podcast that he may do, basically because the original idea was with The Rock, and The Rock wasn't going to win the title. Now, if Randy Orton is good to go, I would have Randy Orton. I know this is a terrible way to end a WrestleMania main event, but it's 2 nights now. So again, I'm getting old. Let's do some crazy stuff. I would have Randy Orton come out, who has a history with Cody Rhodes, as Cody Rhodes talked about in front of Solo Sikoa on Raw, be it 3 days ago. And I would have Randy Orton screw over Cody Rhodes, and I'd do that feud. Now, I think Cody Rhodes should win that championship, but if he's not, and that's the direction we're going in, once again, let's pull the crazy trigger. Who doesn't want that match? I want Randy Orton versus, and also it would get talked about by everybody. And maybe that's something we can do at WrestleMania. Maybe that's the best way to keep fans interested. Because again, the problem that WWE has, everyone watches WrestleMania and goes, I had such a good time, I love wrestling so much. And then they stop watching because there's no hook maybe, and there's no seeds. Maybe if we actually go, no, let's treat WrestleMania as the big swerve of the year, much like a Game of Thrones or the last one didn't even have any swerves in it. But you know what I'm talking about, Red Wedding Friends. Maybe we do something like that. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. People tell me this all the time. Yeah, I do have a little bit of a platform, so I'm going to abuse it and use it. But I don't mind that. Again, if Roman Reigns is going to retain. And then maybe that's how you do the bloodline thing. Did Randy Orton in the bloodline? No, I didn't tell Randy Orton to help me. That's Roman Reigns. That's how he talks. I love tables. There's lots you could do there. And can you imagine the promos between... If you like the promos between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes because they pull back the fourth wall a bit, Randy would be even better. Also, I just want Randy Orton back in my life. I love Don't Give a Flub Randy. One of my favorite characters ever. Tom Talks Rubbish. Really appreciate you, my friend. Just my daily message of love. Of thanks for being amazing. Big love. Thank you, Tom. I have received your email. Don't worry. I'm going to reply. I have so many emails to get back to. Again, I don't want to be that guy. Who cares? I'm busy. You don't care. I shouldn't care. But I'm crazy busy right now with WrestleMania coming out. I'm nonstop to the point we're probably going to have to end this at 6. Then I got a half-hour call. Then I got to pick my friend up from the station. Then I got a 3-hour Zoom call at 7. There's a lot going on, but that's good. Give it to me. Miller can handle it. Probably why I lost my hair. There's another super chat I wanted to get to, which is from Christopher Sermons. What a terrific name. Sermons? Unbelievable. Thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. Here we go. Goldberg should join just to support you, his son. That's right. That's right, Chris. You get on this page. Thanks for the best wrestling content on the internet. Warm and fuzzy feelings in my tum-tum. It's lovely to hear that because there is some good wrestling content on the internet. Also, I'm going to repeat this story till the day I die. The fact that warm and fuzzy and my tum-tum is over, brilliant. Again, there was a person at What Culture said, Miller, you can't say that. They said it in a nice way. They're trying to protect me. The internet will come for you. And I was like, well, I don't really care anymore, so I'm going to do it anyway. And of course, ProWrestlingTees.com. Is that what it's called? Yeah. / Simon Miller. Someone messaged me this today. Simon, can I actually buy that warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum tee? Yes. And you can buy the wrestling ring name tee. And you can buy the Goofy Wrestling for Life tee. And you can buy the hardest part of the ring tee. And I have more tees coming as well. Once again, it's all on my list of things to do. And thank you to everyone that has bought a t-shirt. Overwhelmed by the response for that. And overwhelmed by the response to my cameo. I'm just promoting now by accident. I don't mean to be. But these are two things I never thought I'd do because I thought it'd be embarrassing. And I thought I wouldn't sell any. And that would knock my ego down a peg or two. And it's not that high to begin with. But the cameo, they keep coming in. Again, just search for my name if you want to do it. And the fact that people buy I saw someone wearing it the other day at a wrestling show. I can't comprehend that. So you all rock, and I love you very much, and I hope to see a lot of you over WrestleMania. So I do want to touch on Dynamite quickly. I want to talk about the main event, Vikingo versus Kenny Omega. Now, people have already tweeted me and let me know I hated it. It's not for me. No story. Rah, mad. And look, you're allowed to do that. Fair play to you. Appreciate your opinions. I love the fact that you're so passionate, and I love the fact that you've picked which side of wrestling you want to be on. From me, someone who watches a lot of wrestling and just wants to be entertained, just wants to be surprised, and I'm a massive Kenny Omega fan. I think Kenny Omega is one of the best wrestlers ever. When all is said and done, I think he'll be in my top 5. It's incredible. I said there's some ups and downs, and Brian Alvarez said it earlier too. It honestly was like two wrestling aliens who have a completely different way of doing pro wrestling, but they accidentally crash landed on Earth. It's like a movie would have made in the 80s. I can't tell you half the things that Vikingo did, apart from the 630 senton over the ropes, or whatever, springboard, whatever it was, through a table. And he did that weird inverted Hurricane Rana thing. What was that? How did he do it? I thought it was tremendous. Look, is my favorite pro wrestling always going to be build, big story with a bunch of story in it? Of course it is. I think that's what I'm addicted to the most. But this was a match on Dynamite with two people that just wanted to go absolutely crazy and rewrite the rule book, and they totally did that. I'm now utterly obsessed with Vikingo. I've been looking up clips all day. Once again, I've explained about Kenny Omega. Just go and watch it and see if it's for you. But much like that Will Ospreay Ricochet match that blew up the internet, I hope this does the same. I honestly think I could show this to anyone, even people that don't like wrestling, and I get an amazing reaction from them. I truly think that. Because it didn't make any sense. 2 + 2 = potato. Also on Pro Wrestling Tees. Just a cheap-ass machine. I would hate me too. But it was tremendous. And the fact that we also tied it into the story afterwards, the BCC come down, they beat up Kenny Omega. Hangman Adam Page turns up in an ambulance. Oh my gosh, I was dying. You're not allowed to do that. Someone arrest him. You cannot steal ambulances. What if there's a 911 situation, cowboy, and you've got the ambulance? Where did he get a 2x4 with nails in it? He didn't get it from Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He didn't put nails in his 2x4. But all of that was awesome. And then you get the little bit of the shenanigans with Don Callis. And I know people going, well, Kenny Omega can just watch the show. He will watch the show and he'll learn. But that will tie into the story next week. That's why they did it. That's an obvious... look, if they don't do it, I'll be with you. We can go get our pitchforks and we can go get them. But of course they'll address that and that will tie into something else. Again, maybe Kenny Omega leaving Don Callis because CM Punk teams with them, we do the feud. Of course it's crazy. It sounds nuts. But think of all the stuff that's happened in the last 2 years. A year ago, Stone Cold Steve Austin came back to WrestleMania. So... no more am I going to second guess anything. But I thought that last 30 minutes or so, whatever it was on Dynamite, was an absolute hoot. an absolute riot, and I had a great old time. Tom Talks Rubbish in the super chat. Fully understand you're busy. Appreciate you taking the time to at least read it. No, my friend, don't worry, and we will sort it out. I promise you that. Spaz Phoenix in the super chat says, when you get to Destiny and obviously challenge the false champion, Steve Macklin. Oh, we're talking about Impact. I caught up with you. The real champ, Aiden Prince, destroyed his foot, so we get wet to him. I want to be not a manager, not an advocate, your Canadian affiliate. Spazman, if I'm able to get to Destiny and take on Steve Macklin, that would be awesome. Because obviously he's got the big World Championship match against Speedball, Mike Bailey, I think, at the next pay-per-view. At pay-per-view. I mean, that would be absolutely crazy. Dude, and the fact that you've been an advocate for me, you can absolutely be my Canadian affiliate. You know what? I need to message them. I keep meaning to do it and I haven't done it. I'm putting it on my list, which means I won't get to it in 2024. But still, I appreciate you being a cheerleader for me, man. It's really, really cool of you. Abby Does Life. Wow, Abby Does Life in the Super Chat has picked their WrestleMania match. Bobby Lashley versus Simon Miller at WrestleMania. I appreciate it. I really do. Slightly worried that you can't put that on the marquee. People go, oh, wow, Bobby Lashley. And the bald guy, do you know him? I think he wiggles his finger around. I know I always make that joke, but it's true. And the Hebrew Hammer has an amazing idea. Damian Sandow comes back, beats The Miz in an impromptu match with Santina Marella as a special guest referee. Well, I tell you this, Mr. Double H. That is a wonderful another segue for me. That's goofy wrestling for life. And I want to talk about Hook versus Stokely Hathaway. Now, some people don't like it. There's a big contingent of people don't like it when wrestling goes silly. And you know what? More power to you, as always. But this kind of ties into the Vikingo Kenny Omega thing. When I watched it and I was just laughing the whole time going, I don't understand how you're doing any of this. But I know that I'm enjoying it. I had so much fun watching Stokely Hathaway be a moron that I was like, I can't be negative towards it. I can't criticize it. I can't feel angry about this. It's just great. He comes to the ring. I assume that was a nod and a wink to Ron Simmons, but you don't know. There could be many things he was doing. He retires, which got me straight away. What a dumb thing to do. And then he gives his medical note to Justin Roberts, and it's a receipt from Wingstop. Hook comes out, kicks the absolute crap out of him. Stokely Hathaway is bumping all over the place. You've got the firm in the back being like, man, it's a no DQ match. We didn't teach him any no DQ skills. I just loved it. I just thought it was goofy, it was silly, it was stupid. Of course, some people aren't going to understand it. It's like anything you do like that. It's not a one-stop shop. But I love it that, I mean, it kind of ties into the first match, this thing, Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin match. That wasn't goofy wrestling, but it was designed to be fun. Right, that was the whole point of it, was this is our fun match for the evening. And when you get matches like that, and when you get the proper silly matches, I can't help it, man. Wrestling is like, again, it ties into my Repo Man shtick. It's one of the only outlets there is where as long as everyone goes, do you want to do this? And everyone says, yes, you can just do it. Because it's not make-believe, but, you know, oh, I'm going to spray you in the face with a fire extinguisher. Yeah, sure. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to retire. Yeah, do it. You know what I mean? Like it's a live pantomime or whatever you want to describe it as. So I thought it was a masterpiece, to be completely honest. And now we are going to be doing Hook versus Ethan Page. I would give Ethan Page the FTW title. I would end Hook's undefeated streak. I don't think it's adding to anything. It's nice enough. But I would give that to Ethan Page. I think that would be interesting. And because him and Matt Hardy have constructed a good storyline down on Dark and Elevation, hey ho, man. I would absolutely pull the trigger. I also really enjoyed Sky Blue versus Tony Storm. I love that women's storyline. Again, I mean it. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter went on the show this week because Jamie Hayter is dealing with visa issues, but she'll be back soon. But I love the fact that Willow Nightingale and Rio have been added in. Tony Storm wins. Sky Blue looked great. She's getting better every single week. Always cool to see homegrown talent finding their feet. The Guns and Top Flight I thought was good. Like the fact that we kind of had a bit of Ring of Honor mixing up there. I mean, don't do it all the time, but we're building to a pay-per-view, so that's good. And then obviously the big match, I think next week or at some point, FTR versus the Guns. I believe the FTR are going to win the World Championships. I don't think they're leaving AEW, but I do like the fact that I'm not sure. It makes me second guess the finish. And I enjoyed everything between Adam Cole and Daniel Garcia. I think that's a great match to do. Daniel Garcia can lose. Again, he has had some big wins, as he totally underlined. And it's a great way to get Adam Cole going again. And much as I said on Ups and Downs, this is it. Adam Cole, give him all the wins. Push, 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 push. Mega babyface beats MJF at the end of the year. Put a big old bubble around him and treat him as your Cody Rhodes in WWE or is there somebody else I can think of? Just your top babyface. Do you know what I mean? That's what the AEW really, really needs right now, is someone to sit there in the same way that kind of MJF is sitting there, but as a good guy, because, you know, that comes with a totally different spin to it. So, Yeah, I'm excited about that to see what we're going to do. And we got the feud between Jade Cargill and Taya Valkyrie, and Mark Sterling's going to sue her over her finishing move. That's all right. That's very sports entertainment, and they're going to do something on Rampage. The only really thing I didn't get on Dynamite is the Ricky Starks-Juice Robinson feud. I don't mind they're doing it on Rampage. People now go, oh, it's a downgrade, but you've got to put some stars on Rampage, otherwise you're never going to rev it up again. It just doesn't really feel like it's connecting the dots. And I won't spoil it for you, but I have read what happened on Rampage because I actually wanted to know. I was so intrigued. And even then, I'm kind of like, it feels like a feud that's fluttered into the background. And Ricky Starks and Juice Robinson are great. They are top-tier talents. But given that Ricky Starks defeated Chris Jericho twice, I kind of felt like his path would be different, but I could be completely wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I could be, the amount of times I've gone, oh, I don't like it. And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, damn it. Which is why I always try to be a little bit reserved because I don't want to be a moron. I've been moron enough. Shout out to Ian Douglas, who just put some money in the super chat. Very kind of you, Ian. I appreciate you. And you have a very, very smiley profile pic. I like that. And Spooky Brat, man, it's one of these messages that gets me in my tum-tum. Where are you? Super Brat, Spooky Brat, Super Brat. You got me back into wrestling. I used to catch ups and downs because you watched WWE so I wouldn't have to. And after a while, your excitement got me hooked again. I mean, was it intentional? I don't know. I think my favorite thing about that is a lot of people thought that my excitement was fake and that I made it up for camera. And of course, there's a little bit of a performative quality to it. It's on camera. Why wouldn't there be? But then, especially people within wrestling met me. Someone said this to me once too. I think I've told this story 1,000 times. And they were like, oh, I used to think I didn't like you because I thought you were just like, doing a bit. And then I met you and you were like, oh no, you're exactly like that. Which is probably really annoying. Which is probably why people don't like me. But man, Spooky Brat, if I got you back into wrestling, awesome. Because I love wrestling. And then we should all love wrestling for what it is. The dumbest thing on the planet. But also the best. Loads of people in the chat are saying Goldberg versus CM Punk. I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. Imagine the meltdown. Imagine the rage. Imagine the sadness. Oh my gosh, I'd love it so much. The Pro Wrestling Podcast Super Chat says, what are you guys talking about? I like to think that's a Cody Rhodes reference. I hope that it is. I hope that it's like a Cody Rhodes reference in reverse. And what are we talking about right now? We've just run through AEW Dynamite. Good show. Just realized MJF wasn't on it. Although we did reference that. Darby Allin was doing the WrestleMania thing at the start. He was looking at the double or nothing barrier. What do you call it? Banner. I don't know what we're going to do with that. Some people have said we can do the 4-way. Some people have said we can do a triple threat to get a number one contender. I don't mind. I'll take a 4-way. I think that would be cool. I would take Darby Allin versus MJF. I think that's good. Then you can do Jungle Boy. Then you can do Sammy Guevara. Whatever. I think it's cool. You could even do Sammy Guevara versus Jungle Boy if they're not qualifying. They can go into that feud as well. I just like the fact that the four pillars are fighting over the world championship. That's the kind of AEW I want to see. Bolster up with stars and kind of have them doing their own thing. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, show me some new people. That's what's always exciting about new promotions. My man Ian Douglas is back in the super chat saying, thanks for shouting out the book. Oh, the Steve Kern book. Dude, are you the guy that wrote that or helped write that? Obviously. Well, if you are, salute to you, my friend. You'd like to send me a copy too. Wow, dude. I mean, I'm not going to say no to that. Drop me a DM on Twitter if that's cool at Simon316. That's very kind. Look how nice people are. I will read that book. Again, I like Steve Kern. Hence why I went on about Doink and Skinner. This stuff. I like the characters. Skinner especially was ridiculous. Skinner had decided, I know how I can become a wrestling champion. I'm going to be some kind of hunter. It's like Honky Tonk Man. Honky Tonk Man is up there with Repo Man. He sat there within kayfabe and he thought, how can I get to the top? I can pretend to be Elvis. I would have sat down with Honks and said, I don't think this is a good plan, Tonk. I think you need to come up with something better. It's not that intimidating. But you do you. And my man John the Gin in the super chat, always supporting, appreciate it, says, your friend Thunder Rosa watches this, right? I don't know if she does or not. Hi Rosa, big fan, get well soon, and please show Simon's stuff to the AEW bookers before the UK show. Well, that's very nice. I don't know if Thunder does watch this, but no, Thunder Rosa has been very, very good to me. Has brought me over twice to America now to wrestle for Mission Pro Wrestling, which you should absolutely check out because they are a wonderful promotion filled with excellent wrestlers and even better, just a wonderful positive vibe. I feel very honored and very humbled to have been able to do that. They were two great experiences that I'm never going to forget, and especially because in my first match there as well, Shout out to JP Harlow and Joey too. We won't go too far into it, but legends of the game. I'd only just recovered from my broken hands. I wasn't in terrific shape, and I was I'm not going to say I was mentally, I wasn't down or anything like that, but I certainly was a bit apprehensive, maybe a little bit anxious. And the reaction I got when I walked out there genuinely took me aback. So the fact I could go back there in better shape, had a few matches under my belt, had some momentum, and kind of deliver something that I thought was more representative of my wrestling. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, shout out to Thunder Rosa, and I hope she is back soon. Gallus in the super chat says, if Bret Hart, this is amazing. More questions like this. If Bret Hart bought What Culture tomorrow, and that's exactly what happens. What a terrific question. I massively appreciate that. So now I want Bret Hart to buy What Culture, and I look forward to that happening in this crazy world. Would I still be able to do ups and downs? I don't think I would call it ups and downs out of respect, but would I still do a review? And I don't think anybody would tune into that. I would probably just call it Simon Miller Reviews Some Wrestling. I mean, that will do, right? Stick to what works. The Pro Wrestling Podcast, the Super Chat says, fun fact, I'm the Instagram page Punk commented on. That is cool, dude. I like little things like that. I'm not going to get into it now or ever. I don't reveal these things because I like to be a professional, but I'm happy to talk about the feeling. Somebody very cool followed me on Twitter the other day, and I was like, that's nice. These are the cool things about wrestling, so I like that very much. I have an idea. Welcome back, my friend. Good to see it in the super chat. Simon, I trust you. Yeah, it's big. How am I to comprehend Vikingo? If he's good enough to take the best wrestler to the edge, does that mean he's that level? Well, I think it does, yes. I think if you're that talented, again, you know, wrestling is all about styles and what you like and what you don't like. But he's really, I mean, his style, and again, you may not be into the lucha style, but it's so far ahead of anything I've ever seen doing that kind of style. Yes, I do think he's of that level. It doesn't mean he's going to become a mainstream star, because you can be a terrible wrestler and become a mainstream star. It all depends on your character and the way you connect, etc., etc. But I definitely think Vikingo's got something. Bandido does too. And there'll absolutely be roles and positions for them in any company depending what they want. So, interesting question, and we'll have to see how it all plays out. Don't think he's signed with AEW. He's pretty sure he's a AAA wrestler that's allowed to do indie bookings. But I hope he comes back, because I just want to see him wrestle. I don't need stories. I know that was the controversy. I haven't got a story, need a story. I get it, wrestling's better with stories. But if you're going to entertain me that much, don't care. Don't care. Just turn up and go, all right, I want a match. All right, cool, go. QPR Forever in the super chat. Appreciate you. Good seeing you, my man. Hey, I'm glad you said this. Simon the Moneymaker Miller. Just in case you don't know, Moneymaker Miller is my UPW character, Ultimate Pro Wrestling promotion over here in the UK. They just booked Nigel McGuinness, by the way, for their June show, so make sure you come to that. My new wrestling gear came today for my Moneymaker character, and it's obnoxiously awesome. I cannot wait. It's going to be so good. I want to have Moneymaker Miller versus Hammerstone in MLW. Man. He kicked my ass. Have you seen his Nightmare Pendulum? That's a pretty damn good mood. I like Hammerstone, though. He's good. Jack to the gills. What a dude. What a specimen. I'd take on Hammerstone. I think that'd be a good time. Things are getting better for me, except for QPR losing every match. Yeah, it's not going well, dude. But I am glad to hear that you are getting better. Again, we had that brief conversation on Twitter. Send out all the positive vibes. Who did you hire again? The Wigan manager. And he'd been at Wigan for ages. Gareth, someone, I think. He's got really long hair. Not going well. Poor dude. He doesn't know what he's walked into. Abby Does Live in the super chat says, what do you think they'll do on SmackDown in regards to Dom versus Ray? I thought they'd make it official at Hall of Fame, but with Angie being at SmackDown, I'm not sure. I agree with you. I think maybe they'll pull the trigger earlier than they actually should. I mean, it doesn't matter, no. WWE has proved they know what they're doing with that storyline. But I think we have a real opportunity here to do something at the Hall of Fame that we've never done before. And ultimately, as long as Rey Mysterio's cool with that, I'm cool with it. Because that's his moment. I'm pretty sure it's a real Hall of Fame induction. Again, who deserves it more than Rey Mysterio? Could be the best wrestler ever. Change the game, absolutely. Talking of someone like Vikingo. Wouldn't have a Vikingo without Rey Mysterio. But if he's happy with it and he wants to involve his son, do it at the Hall of Fame after SmackDown. Right, Dom comes out, beats up Conan, beats up Rey Mysterio, really bludgeons Conan. Ray can't take it anymore, and you can do it on Saturday or Sunday at WrestleMania. Great, awesome. People, look, at this point, nobody is going to WrestleMania for that match. They're either already going or they're not going. They've made up their minds. So, and they've sold out anyway. So let's have some fun with the stories. But yeah, it's interesting that Angie is going to, Rey Mysterio's wife, and obviously Dominic's mother, is going to be on SmackDown. But again, they've done so well with this feud, I think they've probably got it booked out. In fact, somebody the other day said, was it Meltzer? I think it was Meltzer. Apparently the Bloodline stuff has been booked to WrestleMania 40. I may be getting that wrong. So again, don't hold me to that. I may be paraphrasing. I hope so. Be great. Also, it probably means that Roman Reigns is winning. Although there was another report out there that when Roman Reigns does lose, he's going on a long hiatus. But he should do that. You hold the belt for that long, you lose, you go away. When you come back, you're a bigger star, maybe even a babyface. So people are like, oh, I can't believe it. Makes all the sense in the world. Damn, Lemley in the Super Chat says 4 pillars on a pole match for the number 1 contendership. How does that work, though? Because you'd have MJF on a pole, Darby Allin on a pole, Jungle Boy on a pole. Who haven't I said? I can't remember what I said now. Sammy Guevara on a pole. But if they're on poles, how do they climb up and grab the person? They'd have to have like surrogates to stand in for them. I don't know how that works. Is this Vince Russo? That's so unfair. We take too many shots at Vince Russo. Although I do think he's got a stupid podcast these days. It just says things to wind people up. Although you could argue that I do the opposite. I just say things to make people happy. We all have our niches. Good for him. My man Tom Talks Rubbish in the Super Chat says, if your wrestling career ended tomorrow, would you be satisfied with what you've accomplished? No. But that's something on my shoulders. I saw The Undertaker talking about this the other day in an interview. Who was it with? Can't remember. Sorry, I should be able to shout you out and I forgot. I didn't know I was going to talk about it though. And he mentioned the Kobe Bryant thing about never being satisfied and never being content. I definitely have that. I'm so appreciative of all I've been able to do in wrestling, but there's certain things that I want to do and we haven't done them yet. I won't mention them here, but no, I'd be a little bit, not upset by that, but I'd be a little bit disappointed. Again, absolutely there are mountains we still have to climb. And I absolutely would like to climb them. And we'll try. My big thing is always just try to climb them. Just try to climb them. That's where the success is. Just trying. You'll never have any regrets in life, in my humble opinion. And again, what do I know? Couldn't even keep my hair. But I think it's very rare that you will have regrets when you get older. If you can look back and just say to yourself, well, you know what? I tried. So if you want to be the WWE World Champion, but you never went and even took a bump, you may be like, oh man, maybe I could have been. And maybe you could have been. But if you bumped your ass off and you trained for years and you had match after match after match after match and eventually you just aged out or you couldn't do it anymore, you'd be like, you know what, I had a good run. Because that's usually what happens. Your brain kind of adjusts. So, you know, I'm never going to regret anything I've done. I'll never be upset, I don't think, because I have given it my all. I mean, I really have. I realized that this weekend alone, and again, super appreciative for the opportunities, but I traveled, what was it? So that was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 hours of travel this weekend for 2 shows. And I think I was in the ring for 20 minutes. But that's wrestling. That's why we do it. Because we absolutely love it. There's something to it. That doesn't make me any better or worse or anyone else. I'm just saying. When you put that kind of effort in, and if things don't work out, they don't work out. But I'd rather not retire tomorrow is my point. Lots to do. My man Bob Smith in the Super Chat says, Simon, give this an up. Bob, you get an up, man. Appreciate you a lot. In fact, you can have a golden up. Why not? I've ruined my system already with those. But seriously, you're awesome, and you've motivated me to get back into the gym and be healthy with your channel. It's just too nice all around, isn't it? Again, I remember when I started doing those videos, the gym videos, because I put it off for ages, because I was like, nobody wants to hear me talk about fitness. What do I know? And I just did one once, because if you're going to upload every day on YouTube, eventually you do run out of ideas. So the fact that so many people have actually said, oh, I know, I like your simple advice, and I like your motivational approach. I'm like, well, there you go. We all need more faith in ourselves, and we all need to pat ourselves in the back. And someone has asked, would you wrestle New Jack if he was still alive? No, I wouldn't. That man, he would kick my ass. He would kick my ass. Right, here we go. I just load up my Google reports, or whatever you call it, notifications, updates, to just make sure we've covered all the news. And we were talking about Bray Wyatt versus Bobby Lashley. Apparently, WrestleVotes, and they usually get quite a lot of stuff right, has put this out. A personal issue on Bray Wyatt's part is going to keep Bobby Lashley off the WrestleMania card. With that said, there is a backup plan. I do know that they're going to get Lashley on the card in some form. I heard the plans for Bobby had something to do with LA Knight. I think there's a time with some type of segment that LA Knight is going to be involved in. I mean, it makes sense to me. That's what I thought. We were probably going to be doing. So that's fine. LA Knight be fine regardless. Win, lose, draw. It's not going to be a problem. This was interesting too. Apparently, WrestleVotes have also said at one point it was discussed that Rey Mysterio was going to retire at WrestleMania. But I don't think the next weekend is his last match regardless of the Hall of Fame. There we go. I know it's more. The storyline kind of reinvigorated him a little bit, so I don't know if he agreed to do another full year. Let's say, and retire at 48, so he must be 47. I don't know if he's going to drag this out with Dom until they feel like it's complete. Wow, so maybe Rey Mysterio, man, when Rey Mysterio hangs it up, it's going to be a great day because he had an amazing career, but it's going to be a sad day because what a flipping legend. What an absolute flipping legend. I mean, I love Rey Mysterio, and I loved him more when we started going through the retro ups and downs, and you realize that Rey Mysterio has been involved in so much So much good stuff. Otherwise, everything here is people talking about CM Punk, but we've done about that at the start of the show. Steve Austin said he doesn't miss his time wrestling. His days are done, so I don't think you're going to see him in another match. If you watch all those interviews, I think he'll probably do a skit or something. I don't think we're going to get another Kevin Owens thing. AEW has moved one of their TV tapings to Saturday, so it does sound like that new show is going to air soon. If you don't know, that is the rumor. Apparently, there is going to be a third AEW show. Not going to judge it till I see it. People still rag on Rampage, and I've been watching Rampage for, 2 years now, and I always enjoy it. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it's must-see TV, but I don't care about that. I care about how it makes me feel. And I think it rocks. So I don't care. And I think that's pretty much it. People talking about the NXT stuff, but that's fine. Stand and Living next weekend should be a good show. And my man Tom talks rubbish in the super chat says, last one from me, big love, hope to speak soon. We will speak soon. I promise you that. So I tell you what, for the last couple of minutes, we do have to check out at 6 today. Sorry I was a bit late. Again, I did cardio beforehand. That was stupid. Just spam the chat with questions and we'll get to all of them. Much as Jason Fratto has done. Thank you very much, Jason. I appreciate you. Justice for Barry. That's right, Barry Barricade. He's just doing his job. See what Hook did last night? He got an extra element of Barry Barricade. He threw it in the ring. That should be a fine, Tony Khan. Make it happen. Thank you for all that you do on your channel and What Culture. You're very welcome, man. Without you watching, I've got nothing. So make sure you thank yourself. I have a special needs son, and your podcast helped with those long sleepless nights he's had. You are a true legend. Jason, I really appreciate that, which I know you say for everything, but it's doubly true for this. Because I stopped doing the podcast for a long time. Not because I was burnt out. I just needed to reset a little bit, which makes it sound like an idiot. When people talk like that, like, what are you talking about? You talk about wrestling for a living, you goober, and you're totally right. But sometimes we get knocked off course a bit. And a major reason I started doing it again is because I didn't give it the worth that other people did. I really didn't. I didn't think anybody cared. And a few people have sent me messages like that. So, man, to think that you are happy to listen to my stupid voice when you're taking care of your special needs son, and that is like a nice moment all around. Again, you allow me to do this. You give me this platform, and I will appreciate you forever. Truly. Thank you so much. And Johnny in the super chat says, Goldberg versus MJF, thumbs up or thumbs down? Yes. And do you want to know why? Because not in my wildest dreams did I ever think I'd see it. And I bet MJF never thought he would do it. And the promos would be hilarious, because I don't think Goldberg would be able to hang with MJF. Honestly, there is no match that I would say no to. I mean it. Who's rubbish? Didn't mean it. Who's considered like nothing? Marseille versus Roman Reigns. Do it. Mansoor versus Drew McIntyre. Do it. Make it competitive. It's wrestling. It's meant to be stupid. Like it really, really is. And ever since I started watching wrestling in that way, I was like, man, this is so much more fun for me. And I was doing backflips and I was having a good time. And that's the way that I want to live my life. And someone said, son, would you wrestle Goldberg? Of course I would. It would get me more exposure. And also, what a pat on the back for me. Goldberg is a legend. He is. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason. And look, I was a huge Goldberg fan growing up. He was the reason I used to tune into WCW. I watched WWF and I'd sneakily go and watch WCW. And we'll finish with this one because we do have to check out at 6 p.m. Sorry, it's a bit 10 minutes short today. I do apologize. I have an idea in the super chat that says, heel Goldberg as MJF's heavy. Wonderful. Love it. Fantastic. Can you imagine if we did MJF versus Darby Allin at Double or Nothing, and Darby loses because out come Goldberg's, destroys Darby with a spear, probably from a roof, because Darby Allin is crazy and sets himself on fire, and he joins MJF. Be great. It would be great. And they're both Jewish. You don't need to tie that in. In fact, I think it's ridiculous when you take one thing and put it in. But as a Jewish man, I would love it. I'd love it. I'll join. I look like you, Goldberg. I've been circumcised. I'm a Jew. I'm an idiot. And you know what? That's how I'm going to end it. So you're never going to tune in again, but that's all right because we had a good time. If you are on YouTube, if you could like, share, subscribe, that would rock. If you want to check me out, patreon.com/Simon316, you can. There's a bunch of nonsense on there. Grillermind.com/Simon. Use code Simon, get 10% off. These are the fitness subs that I use. They're very, very good. And so far, no one's told me that they suck, so that's good. Instagram and Twitter is Simon316. Make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling too. I'm on Cameo for personalized videos. ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller. And I got my Samson Athletic tees. All of that is in the links below, no matter what you're listening to this on. And we will get one of these done next week when I'm in LA. How we're going to do it, I don't know, but I'll figure it out. And even if we stream for 10 minutes, who the hell cares? We'll keep this going. Just go and watch a bunch of videos on my channel as well if you want to do it that way. But otherwise, know that I love you. I love chatting to you. I'm so happy we started this again. It just feels like a lot of fun, which is what wrestling is meant to be about. I know I say that all the time, but I will. Kick ass, take names. See you soon.